It looks like we are working to me. That's pretty sweet. Alrighty. So Orktober continues. I didn't end up streaming yesterday because I ended up working in my other house to try to get it sold yesterday. So I'm doing the streaming today instead. I was going to stream on Saturday, but I ended up going to a place called Marukai, which is basically like Japanese Costco. Cool as hell. It's as cool as it sounds. So I'm here today because it's a long weekend, which is pretty sweet. So I have been working on my hobbits. They're halflings. I know technically hobbits and halflings are different, but I've been working on them. So here's some of the good boy cavalry. Pretty dope for Kings of War. And we got some spearmen. These guys are all done. I probably put some more plants on their bases. But they are painted and top coated. Yeah, I'll probably put some little tufts and stuff on their bases because I just love tufts. I know a lot of people don't like tufts, but I think tufts are like the coolest thing. So, yeah. So there they are. Pretty darn cool. All my little hobbits. The only one I have not painted from the starter set yet is the boss. And that's because I just primed him last night. I did end up giving him a custom spear. 1, so he matches the other people. And 2, because his lance broke. So this way he'll actually match the others. And that'll be pretty cool. He'll be able to lead them. But it's Orktober, so what do we have today? We've got goblins. Which I think is orc adjacent. It's orc adjacent. So anytime I start a new game, I always like to have 2 forces, so that I can play it with another person, right? Like I don't want to have just one force, because in some magical, mystical reality that doesn't exist, I magically have a friend that wants to play with me. I'll have 2 forces, and like they can take one, I can take one, kind of thing. So I always like to have 2. So I talked about last time how I got a bunch of starter boxes. I have no idea when those are getting here. So I dug out the Kings of War starter box I picked up years ago. God, when 3rd edition first came out, right before COVID, I picked up the Goblins versus Ratkin box, and I have been working on the Gobos. They are really nice little models. Really, really nice. And it's nice to work on something that I kind of like already had, and it was just kind of sitting in a box. So that's really nice too. So I've been working on little goblins. They're really cool. However, the goblins come with ogres, and I am not a fan of the ogre models. I think they kind of look like crap, to be honest. And I wanted to do like a little bit more of like a techno mining kind of thing with my goblins. So I printed out these like evil robot things, and when these print out, they're really nice. They're all modular, so you can kind of pose them however you want. And I put little goblin heads on them because I thought that was really funny. So they're like goblins built into this power armor. So a regiment of these is 3 ogres, so 3 robo goblins in this case. And I have them in kind of different stages because we're gonna do kind of like each stage today on stream, but each stage, like, it takes time between the stages. So what I did was I did 3 stages. So I've got one guy here who has all his details painted in. So we're gonna start off with a wash for him, and then I've got one guy who has his dry brushing done, and then one guy that's just base coated. So we're going to kind of go through every step, but we're going to start off with the wash because this is the one that I want to sit for a while. So we have our guy here with all his colors done. This metal color is Peridot Alchemy from Scale 75. I love this color. When you put a brown wash over it, it makes the coolest kind of like bronzy, brassy metal. I love it. It's kind of green. The purple cables, I don't know, I just wanted some color to pop, and I thought it would go good with the bright red skin. So, because I want my goblins to be red. I was playing Wayfinder with my husband, and they have a goblin faction in there who are like kind of miners. Not miners as in children, but like miners like they're in the mines. They're kind of miners, and it's kind of like all this old creaky mechanical stuff and all. So I kind of liked that idea, so I wanted to take that and carry it to this guy. So we're going to use Streak and Grind from AK Interactive. And this paint is fucking cool. You find a good brush for it. So this is like an oil-based kind of paint. So what we're going to do is I am hoping I have my thinner. Oh, there it is. Okay. We're going to take a bunch of this and we're going to put it on everything. We're going to just slather it on, and it's going to look like crap. We're going to zoom in so you guys don't have to stare at my beard the whole time. Actually, I think I have an anti-spill thing. Give me a second. I think this will work for this too. Let's see. Actually, it doesn't really. Lame. Okay. We're just going to have to be careful around it. The anti-spill thing only works for GW washes, unfortunately. Alright, so we're just going to grab a whole bunch of that on our brush, and we're just going to slather it on. Alright? And it is going to make everything kind of brown and nasty. That's really what we want. We want this to just be gross. Not like gross, like disgusting, but like, you know, this robot's made out of bits that have been left in a mine for 20 years, you know? Like, neglected, old, oily. That's the look we want. So, this is going to look really intense right now. And that's because it is. It's super intense. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to let it dry a little. And then we're going to pull most of it back off the model. And it will give us this really nice kind of like corroded, kind of nasty, like in the recesses kind of look. And it should be pretty cool. My habits are all done with Vallejo Umber Wash, which is a really nice brown wash. That leaves brown in the recesses. This should leave like an oily kind of black brown, and it should be really nice. It should make them dirtier than the Hobbits, which is kind of what I want. Because the Hobbits I wanted them to look dirty because I wanted them to like, you know, be like farm people, you know, like they were out in the fields before they had to go to war kind of thing. These guys, you know, they kind of like, they live in machine hell in my brain. So, you know, they're down in a mine and there's all this clanking machinery and it's like clonk, 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 you know, throwing fucking like oil and garbage into the air. Move it slower in front of the cam. Can't see. Okay, that's fair. Going for Grimdark. Sort of. I mean, you could call it Grimdark. More so inspired by the goblins from Wayfinder. And they're like kind of nasty. Like nasty, kind of like mine aesthetic. Alright, so we're going to let that sit while we do everything else. Because that needs to sit for a little while, and then we're going to pull almost all of that off. Stream much, sir? I stream basically every weekend. Usually on Sunday. I usually don't stream on Mondays, but I was busy at trying to get my house together to sell it on Sunday, so I am streaming today instead. Alright, so our buddy's going to sit off to the side, and he's just going to be over there. And we're going to work on some of the other ones. So, we are going to pull out a dry brush. Looks more... oh, like Skeksis. Yeah, I think that's also the fact that these are... so these are like 3D printed guys that I put little goblin heads on because they're kind of cuties. Little cutie patooties. So, I'm going to pull out a dry brush. And we're going to take our goblin, who's been primed black here. And... I don't really like... I kind of want to do the metal for all these goblins as black and then dry brush metal color on top of it. And you wind up with kind of this like sort of like beaten dark looking metal look, and I like it a lot. I'm just going to get a little bit of it, and then we're just going to start going over the model with our dry brush. And this is not going to be super light, right? But you can see it starting to color in the metal pieces, and some pieces are going to be more colored than others. Some are going to be less colored than others, and that's fine. Like, these are goblins in a mine, you know, they do goblin mine things, like, I don't know, eat fungus and cuss and murder people. I don't know what goblins do in a mine. Lauren travelers, I don't know. But they're definitely not going to have the cleanest, like, highest quality, fresh technology, that's for sure. Alright, like, their kit is not going to be the nicest stuff. So, what we want to do is we just kind of want to get the silver on all the details. We don't like want to make everything silver, and you know, some areas are going to be more silver than others. Like, you know, these saw blades, for example, I'm going to put way more paint on the saw blades than, or his claws here. I'm going to put way more paint on the claws there. Man, you're really just catching my hand a lot today. Hold on. Yeah, that'll be better. Zoom the camera in because it was focusing on just my beard, and I was like, I don't think people just want to watch just my beard today. So, alright, so we're just going to go around and we're going to just do kind of a, I think technically they would call this an overbrush, but to me it's sort of just like a heavy dry brush all over our goblin buddy. And in the end, we're going to have a goblin who is still dark metal, but has all of his details and stuff pulled out. So in the end, our goblin's going to look something like that. So he ends up kind of looking like, I don't know, like old kind of like 90s illustrations to me. That's what this looks like. Like, I think if you did this in white and black, you could wind up with something that looks like a old illustration, you know, like old comics from the 90s, like Spawn and stuff. It's kind of what it reminds me of. Alright, we're going to dry off our dry brush because our dry brush got wet. And then we're going to pick up our boy that we dry brushed earlier. Dun 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 dun. And we're, first off, I'm going to grab a bigger brush because I apparently forgot to paint his drill last night and all his claws and stuff. So we will actually hit those real quick. Yeah, I was working on these guys at like midnight last night because I just pulled them in from priming them. It was one of the really nice things about being in Hawaii. Like, I can prime basically all day, any time of day. Like, if I want to prime at night, I can. If I want to prime in December, I can. It's actually really nice from like a painting perspective. And there's a lot of things that are really nice about Hawaii, but yeah, I guess as a dork, that's one of the niceties. Okay, so I just wanted to hit those so you'd have a nice kind of painted drill. All right, drill noises aside. We are. Oh. All right. So, what I want to do with these guys is I'm going to pull out some of the armor, but I'm not going to pull out all of it. I'm just going to get most of it. So this will mean that each one is going to be slightly different colors, and what parts are what color is going to be slightly different. And I think that's fine. I think that's kind of like what I want. I don't want them to be super uniform, you know. With the hobbits, I did this two-tone armor thing where I did silver and bronze. So I think I'm only going to do like one main armor color for these guys, for the goblins, because that way they'll definitely look different, right? Because like these guys, they have like bronze and silver armor, so it's just kind of like a mix of which one got whatever. So I think for the goblins, I'm going to keep one armor color, and I think it'll work pretty good for highlights and stuff too. So for the other guy, for the one guy's tubes, I picked the purple, and I think that looks pretty cool. So, all right. So I'm just going to go through and start painting in the armor. And now this doesn't have to be perfect. And if we can get it in one coat, that's really nice, because then there is going to be nice variation under the paint. So a lot of this is going to get hidden by the wash, so I'm not going to super worry about it. But if we can maintain it with school, we can. So the variation, like the color now under the paint is like sort of like highlights and dark already. So if I can put this on with just one coat, it should be nice and thin, and you should be able to see some of that under it. I won't use the word zenithal highlight because I feel like everyone just talks about that in Slapchop these days, but it'll kind of give you a little bit of that effect, which is nice. So, instead of just being the consistent peridot alchemy. I will say these scale 75 paints are legitimately like my favorite metal colors. They're just fantastic. They just have such nice, like, different colors. Like, they have a blue that's really good. And the purple's really neat too. So I am a big fan of the scale 75 metal colors. So yeah, just gonna go through and pick out bits of the armor, right? Because I don't want to leave him just silver, right? That's not, like, he looks cool, but I think he'll look cooler with bits of the armor done and the oil wash on top of it. So if I wanted to make him look really mega super ragtag, I could have picked another metal color, like maybe like a rough iron kind of brown metal. But honestly, the little goblins, they have so much cloth on them that, like, I don't really want to do brown metal on them, because I feel like it'll just sort of blend into the cloth colors. So I didn't really want to do brown metal. It's kind of why I went for this, because it was a little bit like standouty, you know. Because my first inclination was to do these guys in brass, right? Like brass is like the color of like construction in my brain. I think because I played Elder Scrolls so much, and my brain just instantly assumes like it's like Dwemer, like the dwarves in that, because everything they had was brass. So my just like, I guess it's like a brass kind of copper color. This is more brass. I guess copper is probably the right word. But in my brain, like I think of like old construction just in that color because of Elder Scrolls. So I wanted to do something that kind of was a little different, I guess. Alrighty. So yeah, just bouncing through, grabbing some of these metal bits for our buddy here. And the really cool thing about Kings of War is that you can just do this, right? Like, these aren't entirely Kings of War models. Like, they're using Kings of War heads, but they're, you know, 3D printed models and stuff. Like, the bodies are 3D printed. And you can just do that in Kings of War, which is really cool. Because Kings of War is technically a minis agnostic game, and that's really neat. So this way you can use any old GW armies you have, or you can 3D print stuff, or you can buy stuff. And some of the Mantic models are really nice. Some of them are old, right? Because Mantic's not a big company, so they're not producing new models like every day, you know. But they are a company that's been around for a long time, and they're not like just a, you know, kind of like a one-off kind of thing. They've been around for a long time. So their stuff's going to stick around, which is pretty cool. I know it's one of the concerns when people always look at the third-party companies and stuff, but Mantic's been around forever, which is really nice. And a lot of their models are super, super nice. Like this, the actual goblin models are really cool. They're really nice. They go together like old GW plastics, where you would get like a body, and then you would do like arms and heads of your choice on it, and it's really nice. They feel good when they're together. They look cool, and when you rank them up on the multi-bases, man, it really feels like an army. It's really neat. I was talking about this on the one of the local Hawaii discords, just how much like a multi-base feels like an army versus like having individual models. Because I like individual models a lot, you know, because I like a lot of games like Frostgrave and Rangers of Shadow Deep, and you know, I used to really like Warcry, but Warcry's weird now. I don't understand the release model anymore. It like changes like every couple of months. It's very strange, but yeah, the multi-bases versus single model thing is really neat. Like the hobbits, right? Like that's only 30 models in total. Those hobbits are, but legitimately, like they feel like I have this like freaking massive army when I set them out on the table, and it feels really cool. Like, you know, I don't know. I think maybe it has something to do with just the like the initial impression, right? Like, because it's like units versus individual models, so the units just feel, I don't know, they feel big, and that's neat, you know. The little people feel big. God, I say some dumb shit, but it's true. With the multi-bases, they do feel more like an army versus like a collection of dudes. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I've got my whole bunch of starter boxes coming for the different factions. So I tried to buy one big army in a box, but Amazon was being really dumb and just never shipped it. So I had to cancel that order. And I just bought from Mantic all the armies in the box. All the like little ones. I think they call them like ambush starters or something like that. And I picked up a whole bunch of those. And they're really neat because they're like some basic troops and then like one kind of big fancy unit to go with them. And it gives you like a nice starting point to the faction to play with. So got a whole bunch of those coming, and they'll be really fun too because it's sort of going to be like a different modeling spree, I guess. You know, because each model is going to be a little bit different, or each faction is going to be a little bit different. I really wanted the Wheel of Time army. They're called the Twilight Kin. They're really cool, but they weren't part of the sale. So the sale was free shipping, and living in Hawaii, the nicest thing any store can ever give me is free shipping, because it costs so much to ship stuff to me. So anytime a store has free shipping, I'm like, yes, please. And there's always places like Miniature Market that are like, free shipping, continental US only. And I'm like, okay. I see how that is. You know? Ugh. Gobble, gobble. But yeah, these are pretty sweet to paint. The Hobbits were really sweet to paint. I was really enjoying those last week. I'm kind of happy I painted them all. I would happily paint more Hobbits in the future, but right now I think I'm pretty good having painted what I have. I'm just sort of looking forward to the other factions as they come in. Kind of getting to try out different color schemes and stuff on them. I think it's going to be pretty cool. Because I've got Night Stalkers coming. I think I'm going to paint them. I was really enjoying Wayfinder for a while. I kind of played all the content that's out right now, though, for it. The leveling right now is very slow, so they need to speed that up, and then I'll go back and play some more. But I was kind of really enjoying that, which is why I sort of want these guys to kind of be the same. Right, like these guys are inspired by Wayfinder. My Night Stalkers are going to be inspired by the Gloom. So they're going to be like just crazy blue and purple dry brush everywhere. I think it's going to be pretty cool. So let's do this guy's like outer shoulder pauldron thing. So these models are from a company that makes a lot of like, I won't say bootleg, but they make like heavily World of Warcraft inspired things. This 3D printing company, which is pretty cool, but these things were also a pain in the tail to print. For whatever reason, it took me 3 prints to get them right. The first time I printed them at 100% and they were just way too big for what I want them to be. So this time I booped them down 3 times in Chitu box and then printed them again. And that's the size I got that you see now. I think it, by booped them down, I mean I reduced the size like 3 times and you just click on the button. I don't remember what it is. It's like 79.98 or some nonsense, but yeah. Wah. That's the drill guy. Alright, let me get other color for him. So this is scale color Victorian brass. So this is the color all the Hobbits' armors are in. That's also really nice color for kind of like the technical workings. So I wanted to pick some of those out so he's just not armor and silver. So I've been picking out these kind of like joint bits. So I think that looks pretty cool. And they're all over the body, so it gives me a nice color to have all over. But yeah, these things were a pain in the tail to print out. To re-level my printer 3 times and all this stuff. But I think the end result's really cool. And I want to go for like a more of like a techno goblin thing. So the Mantic goblins actually have a whole bunch of like techno options, which is really cool. So I think it's kind of fitting to do the whole like they live down in the mines with all the rest of their technology kind of thing for them. I think it's an aesthetic that fits very well with the Mantic Goblin design. So yeah, because the Mantic Goblins, they can get a there's like a flying bat thing. They can get these big like grinder mining wheel things. One of those actually comes in the starter set, which is pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to painting that when it comes in. In the not starter set, in the ambush set. Sorry, that's what I mean. Yeah. So you actually get 2 of those in the ambush set. So I'm looking forward to that when that comes in. So should be a good time. But probably the best goblin unit is something called a Maul Pup launcher, which is just freaking awesome. And it's basically a like mortar that shoots these little dogs. It's really cool. It's a cool fucking unit. I want to get one. Really hoping they'll add it to Mantic Direct. Not Mantic Direct, the Mantic Vault, the like STLs thing, that I can print a bunch out. That would be like the best option. And super dope. Alright. So we're gonna let that guy sit for a minute. I'm gonna switch to this guy and I'm gonna paint in his brass parts too, just while I got it out. That's what we're gonna do. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Yeah, it's funny. Me and my husband were talking about the what is that thing called? Why am I blanking on this? The lottery. Thank you. The lottery. Brain. We were talking about the lottery because we always get a kick talking about it. Get a kick out of talking about the lottery. Just like what we would do with $1 billion. And he because in my brain I'm like, oh, I would buy a Japanese army for bolt action and stuff, right? Like all this stuff that's like under like $1,000, right? And he's like, you could literally just buy one of these game companies. And I was like, huh, yeah, you're right. It'd be really cool to like give Mantic like $5 million or something, and just be like, okay, We're going to make all of the models you have in your range right now plastic. You're welcome. You know, like that would be pretty cool. Not something I'd really thought about either, which is kind of neat. Like, you know, he was pointing it out, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess, you know, you really could. If you had that kind of money, you know. You could literally just take a company like, I don't know, like Black Site Studios or something, and be like, okay, Lunar's now in plastic, in hard plastic. You know, and just like have some kind of thing like that. Be pretty cool. You know, like, oh, Demon Ship's now sold on Target, you know. Like the Doomed now has a miniature range, you know. And like that's pretty cool. Sorry, my beard is probably like all camera, or my camera's probably like all beard right now. I'm just getting into the painting, so I kind of like shrink in as I get more into it. I apologize. Alright, so you can see that looks pretty cool, like even as is, right? So alright, so we're going to do this guy's cables, and then we'll probably pull the wash off the other guy after that. So I liked the cable aesthetic on these. These mechs are actually supposed to be Skaven mechs. If you want to look for them on my mini factory, I think they're called Verminators. They're supposed to be Skaven mechs. So they're supposed to have like a warpstone core, but I didn't think that really fit for the goblins. So I didn't print any of the cores out, and instead just ran some wire kind of out of those holes, because I liked the wire kind of aesthetic. I thought it looked neat, so, and I knew it would give me a good option to get another color, you know, kind of like another bright color onto the model. There's also like all of this armor you can print out for them, but I kind of wanted them to be a little more bare bones than that, so I just sort of printed out a couple of pieces. I did want some of the pauldrons, but they did not print for the life of me, so and I was like, it's fine, I don't need the pauldrons. But yeah, it's really cool you can do things like this with the Mantic game. Right, like just this kind of like fun 3D and plastic kind of kit bashing. You know, really make your army unique and yours. I think that's really cool. Yeah, because I am... Kit bashing is like legitimately one of my favorite things in this hobby. I don't know. I feel like it's like weirdly frowned upon in the GW games right now. It's like, oh, all your pieces have to be GW. It's like, well, you know what? I'm not buying a fucking second Venom crawler so I can have 2 legs off of it. I'm gonna fucking 3D print it. Like, you money grubbing fucking motherfuckers. Sorry. I don't mean to go an anti-GW rant and like cuss up a storm, but it's frustrating, you know? Alright, so there he is. There's our boy. Drill hand. I try to give everybody one regular hand so they could like do stuff, and one like weapon hand. It made more sense in my brain. So I have to paint in his face, and then he's basically done to dry and wait for washes. So I do like to let the paint really cure before I do my washes, because when I start pulling it off, I don't want it to pull off the I don't want it to pull off the paint. And if your paint has not really cured, it will do that. So you just gotta really give it a little bit to dry after you paint it. So I did this because I have these goblins. That does mean I also have some rats. And painting rats is legitimately like my favorite thing. So I will probably also be working on the Veermen as well. Now my rats for that, just in case you're interested, are probably actually going to be teal with pink highlights. Because I think that's going to be mental and look really cool. Alright, let's paint in, let's do his tongue a different color so it stands out a little. For some reason this goblin's sticking his tongue out. I imagine all these goblins are probably like... Okay, let me back up. I think Goblin Slayer has tainted my view of goblins. And I think in my brain, I think now that all the goblins are probably like weird like sex perverts. Because of fucking Goblin Slayer. So, when I see them sticking their tongue out, they're not being funny. They're like, in my brain, they're probably being like super lewd. So, oh, and also because I haven't actually painted, we'll touch up some of his red too. So this is Abomination Gore. It is a kind of reddish brown, like almost an apple barrel color. And it's the color I picked for my goblins because it's one I've actually never used before. I've had this paint for a long time from a paint set my parents got me during COVID, but I wanted the goblins to have like something unique. And I was like, oh, I've never used this color, so I will use it on these goblins and it will be their skin color. And it will be completely unique to them then, which I think is pretty cool. Since I have it out, we'll paint in our other goblin buddy too. There he is. We'll paint in his face too. This one's in like a weird BDSM mask, which I think is pretty dope. He's got like a muzzle on. So yeah, maybe my Goblin Slayer opinion about goblins is accurate. Maybe they all are like weird sex fiends. Because I mean, legitimately, this guy's wearing a muzzle. The Mantic Goblin models are really nice. They have a lot of like cool personality and stuff to them. Alright, we'll paint him in. I'm going to put him off to the side. And we will remove our wash from our friend. Let me grab my spirits. Oh, soil works. Odorless dinner. I don't know why I went oh, but I got this in Montana and it is very nice. Very nice. Alright, so normally I use Q-tips for this, but I only have one Q-tip that I can find. So we're going to start off with the big areas with just paper towel. So we're just going to kind of rub all over the model, right? And it's going to pull that oil wash off the surfaces, off the like high up surfaces, and it's going to leave it down in the crevices and the areas we can't get to. So the color should kind of be coming out, but should be slightly dirtier than it was before it went in. And there should be a lot kind of like in the creeks and the crevices and stuff, which is exactly what we want. You can see the amount that's already pulling off there. All right, let's get ourselves a clean towel. And then after this towel, we'll move to the Q-tip and do the like tightening areas. But yeah, oil wash is really cool. And the streaking grime is awesome. Really, really, really good stuff. So, and this is a odorless spirit, which is really nice, so it doesn't stink. Sometimes white spirits stink. So I drop him on the palette. Alright, let's swap to our Q-tip. Our one and only Q-tip. And get a couple of the like tighter and close areas. Down in there, down in there. Alright, because I want... Okay. Alright. I'm going to save that Q-tip like it's gold. I got two more of these guys to do. Then, once we've removed all of our washes, that's what we're left with. So, you can still see there's like staining and stuff, like here and there. And it's giving it like an uneven kind of surface. You can see there's more like on the back of the weapon there. It's pretty darn cool. Yeah. I think that's pretty dope and exactly the look I was going for. So, now the real question is, do we want to add rust or not? I have mixed feelings about rust. Sometimes I really like rust in certain spots. Sometimes I don't. So I think we'll hold off for rust for now. But I think what we will do is I think we're going to do a tiny bit of dry brushing on this guy. On his weapons so they stand out. So they just kind of have like a little bit of a sparkle to them. Just kind of lightly highlight those, just so they have a little bit of sparkle. Get the claws here as well, back of the claws, get his toes. Yeah. And then I think our Gobbo buddy here is done. So yeah, there you go. That's how to paint a horrifying goblin machine mining death abomination for Kings of War. So he's going to be fulfilling for Troll, and he's going to go on a... He's going to go on a multi-base as well. So right now they're all based individually. So they're easier to paint. But they're all going to be friends on not that base. They're all going to be friends on some base. I have to figure out which one. Is it this one? Might be that one. Yep, that's right. So they're all going to be friends on that base, and get all posed up and everything when they're all done. And it should be pretty cool. A nice set of multi-base goblins. But yeah, nice and easy, nothing crazy, and end result is pretty cool. You know, I've only been painting for about an hour, and we've done every single stage, so you could basically take a goblin from complete, or from nothing to complete in an hour. You could probably do all three in like an hour and a half, because you'd be batch painting at that point. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty happy with that. I think he'll look really cool on the table, grinding up some hobbits. Oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call it there. I will be streaming again this week because I have some Imperium to open that I just have not gotten a chance to open. Some really cool stuff too. It's part of Rabute Gilliman, which is pretty cool. And also like this big ghost arc thing. So lots of really cool stuff in there. I wanted to get to it last week, but honestly with changing meds I felt very weird last week. I was feeling really rough yesterday afternoon too, but feeling pretty damn good right now, so we'll see. Fingers crossed that keeps up. Fingers crossed. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call it, and I will catch you guys later in the week for Unboxing Imperium. So, thank you guys for watching me. One last look at our goblin friend here. That's the drill noise that he makes. Pretty happy with that. I think that looks really cool. And yeah, I'm gonna call it. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good one, and keep on keeping on.